Welcome to the Cosmic Busker. My name is Bobby Cody. In this video, I want to take a look at a recent Randall Carlson podcast that he did. Randall Carlson is a geologist, builder. He's essentially a researcher who has done some cutting-edge research regarding what's called the Younger Dryas and some of its tie-ins to the Atlantis legend. That's a very shortened version. He's taken a look at the west coast of the United States and some of the geology there, and it looks to him like that was a huge, massive flood, and he's been doing the research on it, and this period of time is called the Younger Dryas. It was 12,000 years ago, and he's tying this destruction in the west coast of the United States that was centered in the United States, essentially, with a global catastrophe, that this destruction that was centered in the United States happened globally, and he ties it in with the Atlantis legend. And according to the Atlantis legend, which comes from Crataeus and Timaeus, two Greek texts, they put the timing of Atlantis at about 9,000 years from their time, which is about 11,000 years from our time. That's precisely when the Younger Dryas happened. So there's this tie-in with myth and legend and science, essentially, where science says there was this global destruction about 11,000 years ago. And then we have Greek legends from Plato, Socrates, of Atlantis, which they said existed 9,000 years from their time, and that's when it was destroyed, or 11,000 years from our time. So myth and legend and science come together, suggesting that this Atlantis legend is actually true, and there's some reality behind it. And that's what Randall Carlson is showing, and I'm going to go to his video in a moment. He has a new podcast. It's called Kosmographia. I'm going to link to it below, where he talks about Atlantis and other related subjects like this. I just want to touch base on one more thing regarding this, and this is about me personally. I've been studying this since I was a little child, literally 8, 9, 10 years old. I always had this intuitive sense that behind this Atlantis legend or myth lay the keys to understanding the human condition. And essentially it's been 40 plus decades of me, wherever I could, uncovering information or things that relate to this and other subjects that all tie in together with this Atlantis myth or legend, which we are now becoming to think that there's so much evidence that it is real that I think it is. That's where I want to go with this, essentially. Randall Carlson talks about is, exactly what these Greek legends say where Atlantis is where it was, in the Atlantic Ocean. That's what I've always known and felt too. I felt it was silly, where I see all these videos of people say Atlantis is here, Atlantis there, in the Pacific, it's in the Mediterranean. No, it's in the Atlantic Ocean, just like the Crataeus and Timaeus Greek texts say. So I want to take a look. We're going to cut to Randall Carlson discussing this right now. First, I want to cut to him reading from the text itself and talking about these destructions, the regular destructions that happen, and the Atlantis destruction, or as science knows it, the Younger Dryas event, is only the most recent of global destructions that happen to mankind. And I think it's really important we come to grips with this and understanding of this as a human species. Many of my past videos talk about this, and I got to reiterate it. It's very important. So let me cut to Randall Carlson and him reading from the text, and then we'll come right back.
That is true.
And this is where it really begins to get interesting now. The old priest goes on to say, there is a story which even you have preserved, that once upon a time Phaeton, the son of Helios, having yoked the steeds of his father's chariot, but because he was not able to drive them in the path of his father, burned up all that was upon the earth, and was himself destroyed by a thunderbolt. Now, this has the form of a myth, but really it signifies a declination of the bodies moving around the earth and a great conflagration of all things upon the earth recurring at long intervals of time. So he's laying it out right there, the declination of bodies basically orbiting in space around the earth.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and by invoking the myth of Phaeton is clearly.
So there we have Randall Carlson reading from the Greek texts that talk about what caused the destruction of Atlantis, or as science knows it, the Younger Dryas event, about 11,000 years ago. It was the declination of bodies gathered around the earth, these ancient Greek texts say. What's declination? Declination is the descending. What are bodies around the earth? Asteroids, comets in space. It's very clear if you read the text and understand it, and especially with the scientific evidence of the Younger Dryas event that caused global destruction on the earth and made many species extinct. So let's go and take a look right now at Atlantis and what Randall Carlson believes that Atlantis is located. I've felt this for decades. It's very obvious looking at a map of the Atlantic seafloor that at one point when the sea levels were lower before the Younger Dryas, that there were islands in the Atlantic, and these islands are what Atlantis was, where Atlantis was located. It's always been very clear to me, and we have people trying to find Atlantis all over the place. It's very clear. It's right there in the Atlantic. You can see what were once the mountaintops are now under the Atlantic Ocean. So let's go to Randall Carlson talking about that, and then once we're done with that, we'll summarize.
Digital elevation of the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Are we there?
See it. Yep.
I got it.
All right. Excellent. All right. So over here on the right, with my cursor, that's the Pillars of Hercules right there. And if you come out from the Pillars of Hercules, you come to a group of islands right here, of which Madeira is the most prominent. And during the Ice Age, with lowered sea levels, these islands would have been more abundant and more prominent. Then you go beyond those islands and you come to more islands here, which are the Azores, right?
Yeah.
Then you go from those islands on and you come to the continent beyond.
Right.
So, I mean, what his geography fits perfectly with what's there.
Yeah.
Now, coincidence, maybe he didn't know what he was talking about. Maybe he made it up, whatever. But the point is his geography fits perfectly.
What was the reference to that this ocean was navigable in those days?
So as you can see, to my eyes, to Randall Carlson's eyes, and to the eyes of many others who have looked into this, it's very apparent that the Greek legends and Egyptian legends as well are right. Atlantis was located in the Atlantic Ocean. We're uncovering evidence currently that there was this destruction 11,000 years ago. One of the reasons this is really important is there may be evidence that these destructions are regular and cyclical, and they may be based on about an 12,000 year cycle, more like a 12,000 year cycle. And we may be entering that 12,000 year cycle now. It was about 12,000 years ago that it last happened, and we may be looking at another time period where we are subject to potential bombardment from asteroids and or comets. There's been a lot of climate change hysteria regarding our anthropogenic climate change and its potential for destruction of humankind. Ultimately, this is a much greater potential destruction. The threat of asteroids or comets landing on the planet Earth, and I think it's any discussion of climate change caused by humankind is just a distraction from what is most pressing threat that humankind faces. We could literally be wiped out tomorrow by an errant asteroid or comet. So thanks for watching. I encourage you to take a look at, do some research on Randall Carlson's investigations. I'll provide a link. He's also got a new podcast called Kosmographia. It's awesome. That's where I got these videos from. I'll do my best to link below to any information regarding Randall Carlson and some of his videos. Thanks for watching. Everybody have a great day. And if you haven't, please subscribe, share. And thanks for watching. Appreciate it.